My next vlog is going to be about asking British Muslims what are the 3 best things about being British. Not an easy answer, not an easy question to answer. For me, the first thing is our sense of humour and our dry wit. I think we have a fantastic sense of humour, and our wit is quite dry as well, quite sharp. The second one, I believe, is our respect and tolerance of other people's beliefs, cultures and religions. Most of us have a respect for that, don't we? Most of us, not all of us, most of us do. And thirdly, I believe it's the language, the English language. I mean, I'm glad I can speak it fluently and know most of the words, and people around the world, they want to learn the language. So these are the 3 most important things for me about being British. So let's go out to the streets, let's find out what answers we get. Whether people can answer all 3 or whether we can answer 1 or 2, we don't know. We'll see.
Three best things about being British. The accent. I do like the British accent, just because I find that people respond to you when you travel in a different way. So while I was at uni, I went to Canada for a bit to study, and they just automatically think you're clever, regardless of what's actually coming out of your mouth. So if you couple that with, like, say, wearing a pair of glasses as well, which I do, they just think you're like practically a lecturer. So I like that. So yeah, they'd want to hear me talk. Like, oh, Nisa, just say something. So I like that. And you get that in quite a few countries. So I would tend to amp it up and do like a kind of Queen RP British accent. So yeah, that one. Second of all is the sense of humour. I find that when you try to be funny or sarcastic in other cultures, it just goes over their head and they don't really get it. You can offend people, and that makes me always a bit homesick, because in England they just get it, and I didn't realise how exclusive that humour is to England until I started to travel and see different cultures and stuff. So third is the passport. I think we don't realise it at the time, but it's an incredible luxury just to have a British passport and the freedom that allows you, purely due to accident of birth. So yeah, like I said, it's something you take for granted when you're a kid, but then the older you get, you're like, wow, this is actually a great thing to have, and something that many other people would love to have. So yeah, those are the 3 things.
Well, first, you can have the freedom to be who you want as a person. You can choose. It's not like in a third world country where you don't have that ability. And the second one is, well, if you look back on what Britain has done as a country, talking about like what they've done in terms of history, they've done a lot of things that you can feel proud about. And the third one, I'm not too sure. You're gonna have to give me a bit more time for that.
Can't think of 3 things. No. Only 2 things.
I think one of the first things, one of the best things about being British is the fact that they've got such a long colonialist, imperialist history, and us coloured people are here making it our own. I think that's one of the best things about being British.
That's one. What about the other 2?
The best things about being British. God. That's a hard one.
It's not easy, is it?
It's not easy. I can only think of one. I mean, English is one of the widest spread languages. So that's got to be one of the perks of being British. The fact that we all speak English, and English is one of the most used languages in the entire world. That's just lucky for us, I guess. That's another thing that's good about being British.
One more
thing. Boy, I don't know. You know what? I like white people. Do you know what I mean? I like white people. I like their banter. I like their community. I like their culture. It's nice being a part of that as well. Not the racist ones, but the ones that want to integrate. I like them.
Okay, so when you go everywhere, when you go out to places, British people are known to be orderly, so they're quite well-mannered. Most of them are well-mannered. Queues, British people are known to stand in queues. That's orderly as well. Third one, fashion. A young lady just said, Gokwan's British and he's great at fashion.
I think the best things about being British is that, number one, I have multiple identities and none of them negate my Britishness. I was born and brought up in this country. My grandfather came here in like the 60s, and he embraced that Britishness in the sense that we have such an interconnected history. He came from the subcontinent where, you know, colonialism, everything is, the world is interlinked. We are not designed to be part of one specific geographical location. And I think that Britishness, it comes from somewhere negative, but it becomes positive because all these cultures, they become this melting point of one hub of, we're all human beings. And I assign my identity to who I am. It's not imposed on me by my geography. So geography is not what makes you who you are. It's your identity from where you come. Where you come from, and we all ultimately come from the same place. We're all the same.
What is it? What has been British today? How does I used to be proud to be British. I still am in a sense, but at the same time, it's like it's making me question. Like, what do you need to be a certain skin colour or practice a certain religion or whatnot to be British? Like, is my white Scottish friend who practiced Christianity, is she more British than I am? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think right now it's probably a little bit confusing about what is being British all about.
Number one, I'd say most important is obviously it's a recognised nationality around the world. So wherever you go, you recognise, everyone knows. Obviously, British people in the Far East countries, back home in Asia, wherever you go around the world, it's recognised. Number two, I'd say the sport. Obviously, we've created sports like football and cricket, which is well renowned around the world. Leicester City have obviously done very well last year, so that's good for the city and obviously being British in itself. And third of all, I'd just say obviously it kind of helped me motivate me to obviously do my own fashion brand because of obviously British fashion really in itself. So those are the three things.
Great.
The number one thing, the first thing about being British, I'd say, is how stubborn we are. If we believe something's right, there's nothing you can do to change our mind. We're very stuck in our ways, and I think it's very admirable for the sense of if we believe something is wrong, we will tell you about it. We're not gonna hold it back. We will say exactly how we feel. We don't really beat around the bush. We just say it very direct, which for some people that could come across offensive, but for British people that's just the way we are. Number two, I like the fact of the unity of the British people. No matter, obviously there's a bit like racist people here and now, but that's fine. But the majority, I'd say, as long as if you're in their clique or you're British and they familiarise themselves with that, then they're your brothers, they're sisters, they're ride or dies. The love between them, I just look like, for example, football games. That's just the embodiment of what British people are. That love that they have, that you don't even know someone, but if they know you're representing the same football team, it's just love, straight love. The third thing I'd say is our sense of humour and sarcasm as well, because I think sarcasm, I'm not sure if it's only a British thing, but Americans, they don't really get sarcasm. Like, you could say a sarcastic joke, but they're like, oh, we don't understand what you mean. But it's like with British people, we get sarcasm. We have for myself, I say very vulgar jokes. And obviously other people, they'd probably like come across offensive, but with British people, that is the way we are. We love stuff like that.
Top man, nice one.
I can say what I want freely, whether I can or I can't still say it. Freedom of speech completely, because I know the British ways, because obviously I'm a convert. Fantastic sense of humour, a bit sick sometimes, could be a bit rude sometimes, but it's a good sense of humour, and I love it. Not that a lot of countries don't get it, especially Americans don't seem to get our sense of humour. And the third thing is being white, because I'm lucky to be white, because I see the racism that all my mates get that are convert Muslims or born Muslims. I know most of it's around the colour. So I'm quite privileged being white and kind of watching it from the outside, but I'm in it as well. So I see what people go through. So I'm privileged. But yeah, just the advantages. There's just a lot of advantages and a lot of things that I wouldn't give up, like my sense of humour and being able to mouth off when I need to.